Live. And go. All right. We are go. Looks like stream is good. I'm going to be looking at the chat very intensely for all the audio reports. I want to see 5 9s, 5 9s, 5 9s across the board from everybody as they come in right now. All right. One viewer. And then I'm waiting for the explosion that always happens as it goes boom and everybody pops in. So hopefully you're hearing me. You're seeing the welcome window as the stream takes off. My dad is watching on Instagram right now. That's pretty cool. I'm simul streaming in 3 places: Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So we've got everybody on the YouTube side. Hey, oh, Wicked Perfect, who's also on Instagram but is on YouTube, says, "Hey, what's up?" So, okay, let's see. Is YouTube going live? Says good, but I don't see anybody in there yet. We had some weirdness with the last stream, so... You guys hear me? Good. Okay, now it's popping up. There we go. Usually I wait to really get started until I see the numbers actually going up. Usually when 10 people or so show up, then I'm like, okay, cool. Everybody can see me. So... You see in the rotation of the memes on the YouTube side, yes? Memes rotation, that's what we're looking for? I hope that's a yes. Anyway, if you want to send me memes, it's really easy. You just go down in the description, or you wait for Zach to post a link to our Discord. There's a page there for memes, and I'll take all the memes. I want all your radio memes. I'll take other memes too, but radio memes are kind of what we look for. So, all right. Who do we got in here now? All right. Shannon, so far 5-9. Ohio metal detecting. Hello, metal detecting, man. I have not been out swinging my detector in a long time. I usually keep a Tesoro Compadre in my car. It's not my best detector, but I always keep that in my car, and I think I'm going to take it camping this year. We've got a camp out coming up. Yes on the rotating memes. Wicked Perfect can't stay for too long. Oh, man, going to dinner. All right, where are you going? I always like recommendations of dinner in the LBC. Very cool. All right. Hello from Atlanta, studying for his license right now on the Instagram side. Very cool. All right. Well, welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course, everybody. We've got people coming in. As always, we got the net going. We're on a different frequency today because there was a DXpedition or a DX activity. It was a young activator, actually. It was a ute. Anyway, we're on 14.264 megahertz. You have to tell me, though, on Instagram if you want to try and contact me so I can turn the radio up. Otherwise, it's just too loud. And let me close my door here to make it even better. That'll make the sound even better. Oh, thank you, Tom. Not too early for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Man, everybody, howdy, howdy. 86DM, what's up? Patrick, what are we having? Had ribs earlier. Oh, nice, yeah. Caspar Isaacs, what's up? 2 p.m. there in New Zealand. Awesome. Parker Lighthouse, I think. Yeah, right on. Cool. All right, so welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course again. We are here to talk today about the general class license. We're moving forward. We've done, I think, 6 parts of this license. We're almost done, and then we're going to go back into, our normally rotation of fun ham radio stuff. But as always, every episode, every stream, we talk about moving forward with radio. This is no exception. I've been kind of dabbling more in FM satellites. I have not had a good antenna for FM satellites forever. I had a home-built tape measure Yagi, which works okay. Part of the problem is it's just tuned for 2 meters. It's not great for 70 centimeters, so you have to be kind of picky on what you're working with. So I got an Arrow antenna, and I'm just trying to get better at using the Arrow antenna, frankly. Doing satellite FM satellites passes is kind of stressful because you've got under 10 minutes and there's a lot of people, a lot of activity, lots of stuff going on in your ears. You got to be quick. You got to listen. You got to be quick. A lot of people record onto little micro recorders for later running the QSOs into their loggers. I think that's a good idea. I had all kinds of bugs in my system for my recorder, so much better now, so I can get a little bit more focused with that. And I do. I want to work more passes. I'm deciding on which radios to take out camping this year. I know I'm going to take... I don't know if I'm going to take HF, actually. I may just take FM and the Arrow. That might be fun. Anyway, cool. All right, so I want to... Let's see. Also, I want to mention Morse Toad. Morse Toad. Where did? Oh, my phone's right there on Instagram. Morse Toad is an app that's available for iOS and Android. I am not affiliated with it. It's a really good app. I totally recommend it. Somebody tuning their antenna on 14264 Parker Lighthouse. I think. Oh no, that's different. It's Swift. Okay, let me know. Strategic Comms Mexico finally caught a live stream. What's up? Yeah, I'm glad you can make it. Let's adjust my camera there. All right, so we got a kit survey going on. I'm going to buy a new kit that I'm going to build live, and I need you guys to go to the Facebook page, the Ham Radio Crash Course, and vote. We've got a couple options, which I'll show you in a second, and I'm really excited. It's going to be a really fun build, so make sure you go check that out. And we got merch now. If you're looking at this on YouTube, the merch is down below if you want a t-shirt or a mug. I think the mugs look pretty cool with the logo on it, which you could buy a mug when you get your technician. You can get one when you get your general, etc. Pretty good. And I got a shout out. So let's switch over to the web here. So my shout out today is DX Commander. I really like this guy's channel. I like what he puts out, and I like the knowledge he has. Really strong amateur radio operator. He's a kind of antenna builder, and he actually sells antennas. So I'm a big fan of his stuff, and he responds to questions. So I just love his stuff. So make sure you go out there and show him some love. Go check him out. Maybe subscribe for a little while, watch, and see if you like it. Okay, the Brew Crew, man. I've got an interesting beer that we're gonna be drinking today. Food-er beer. I got this Trader Joe's Petrus Aged Pale, and it's called a 100% Food-er beer. Whoa, $1 from Tom Garcia. Thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate that. Food-er is basically a very large barrel or vessel, and this is the description of it on the web that you're looking at on the YouTube side. Basically, coopers build these massive barrels, and they put beer in it. I didn't know about this. I thought this was just a pale ale, an aged pale ale. Turns out this is a sour beer, so I'm pretty excited about this. It looks pretty good. Now, Trader Joe's, you think, oh, it's Trader Joe's beer. What the heck is that? Well, then I looked up the review. This thing has a 4.4 out of 5 exceptional rating. Oh, wait, this is not the same one. Wait, hold on. This is 102. This one says 222. 102. Let's see if we can update that really quick. Oh, there we go. Untapped. Looks like it has a 4.4 as well for this thing. Pretty cool. So let's pop into this while I walk through some of this other stuff. We have an Islands on the Air. The Irish Islands on the Air is coming up here. This weekend, EJ0DXG will be at the Great Blasket Island. I don't even know what that is, but if you can get them, they're going to be running stations on 80 through 6 CW single sideband and Digi. So if they're on DXpedition mode FT8, I might check them out. Mine won't run. Jason Makita, go refresh your page on YouTube. Hopefully everybody see me okay on YouTube. YouTube side's good. Caspar Isaacs. Hashnasi, will you do extra class ham merch? I mean, it doesn't apply here in NZ as we only have one class and ticket and license, but still. Most likely, yes. But if you think about it, there's more technicians than there are generals. So we figured we'd start there and see what the market was like and if people enjoyed it, and then that we'd do it then. We'd decide then. But, you know, I don't want to produce things and buy things that just sit around. If people don't want it, that's cool. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Ooh, here we go. Little hazy. I'll just pour that right on my microphone. Okay, cool. What else do we got? Oh, let's just dive into the kits. So I'm planning on building a kit. I mentioned it on the Facebook page, and I need you guys to go out there and take a pic. There's one receiver, the Murania. Looks like that guy in the upper right-hand corner. That's very cool. They call this a kid radio. It's a 2-transistor radio, basically. It was referred to as kid radios back in the 60s, I believe, or earlier, because it was pretty low frills. But I think that is cool. That has got some Fallout cool going on. So I may get that. I may get that just for the heck of it. Cricket 30 is a 30-meter all included CW radio. It runs off of 9-volt batteries. You just attach a BNC antenna and you're off and running. Includes all the parts. Awesome. I'm going to buy one of these as well, most likely, but I'm trying to pick which kit we're going to build next. And then there's the Hilltopper, which is this kind of cool PCB cased box. You can't tell because the picture's kind of lame, but if you go down here to picture, where are they? Photo page. This is what it looks like when it's done, which I think is really cool looking. Woo! That's sour. Whoa. Wow. It's good, but it's sour. Holy smokes. So then the last one, which seems to be the one everyone wants me to build. This is called the Bayou Jumper, which is a copy of the Ocean Hopper, which was a CW spy radio. Spy radio back from the Cold War. And you just have this wooden box, and you open it up. It has a built-in key. It has a built-in antenna connection. All you see is what you get in the kit, even the little wooden box. Not cheap. It's like $80 for a QRP CW kit, but I don't know. I think I'm going to have to get one. Yeah, $86.60 to me. But I'll let you vote. I'll let you vote where I spend my money, because we're going to build it live, so I want to make sure you guys are into it. So why spend the money if nobody's going to watch me build it? Illiterate Beef says, I was intimidated by the tech test, but tried an exam and got 60 with 0 prepped. I'm excited to get through your videos to get the other 40. Very good. And you don't need 40. You just need 15. You need to get to 75%. Once you get to 75%, you're golden. Oh, man. Archie Archer says there's 47 of us watching and only 7 which have hit the thumbs up button. Yeah, I'd appreciate it. Can you hit the thumbs up? Carl Ing asks, what is the main point of QRP? Well, QRP is lightweight. In fact, let me grab this really quick. Most QRP radios can pack into a bag like this. Just a simple Husky bag that I picked up. And you open this up, and I've got my radio right here. It's a CW transmitter with CW and single sideband receive. All-inclusive power in here. You could even throw a wire antenna in here and be able to run, as long as it was cut for the radio and resonant. So that's it. Just packs up real easy. Super easy, right? So QRP is portable, right? 5 watts or less QRP, which, great. We've talked about QRP. In fact, I have a stream on that. If you're interested, just go to my channel and search for QRP, and then you'll get a lot of options. And it's a challenge. A lot of people do it because it's hard, and it's cheap. It's inexpensive to get cheap QRP transceivers. All right. Tom says, Raspberry Pi kit for DMR hotspot build video. I'm working on that, Tom. You hit right on the spot. I'm planning on doing a hotspot in the beginning of next month sometime. I'm going to buy one. Hotspot with, try and get our own talk group. So we'll have a Ham Radio Crash Course talk group that we'll do a weekly net on, which I think would be awesome. And is QRP less than 5 watts? QRP is traditionally considered 5 or less watts, but that has gotten kind of increased over the years to 10 or less watts. Either way, it's hard. The best performance in QRP is when we do those soda activations, so we go to the top of the hill. They do great there. Oh yeah, I had a video presentation, so you should go watch the video presentation. M-O Moose, or Noose, yeah, Noose is back. N0OSE, wireless mag loop antenna capacitor motor controller. I'm assuming you mean for QRP. You can do that. Some of them are a little heavy. All right, what else do I got to say? Okay, so we got the beer out of the way, which is pretty sour. My palate's adjusting to it, though. Upcoming videos. I have 3 or 4 upcoming videos. Sunday, I'm going to be posting a talk I did to the Boys and Girls Club in LA on Introduction to Ham Radio for Kids. So it was really fun. They had me out there, and I got to talk for a little while. And then they fed me dim sum after, which was amazing. And my field day top 3 videos coming out as well. And is there any interest? I'll let Carter Vlogs. We are absolutely still doing Discord. Zach will be by shortly, and he'll post the link. but I believe the link is also in the description. You can go there. And we, of course, will do a chat, a Discord chat after the YouTube stream, and we can talk live. Let's see. Oh, so yeah, interest checked for everybody in the chat. Would you want to do a live stream where it's late my time, like a QSO party, where I'm just trying to make QSOs, DX QSOs? And I say late because that's generally what you have to do if you want to do 40 or 20 or anything like that. It's got to be late. As we kind of like try to work the gray line, right, of different nations as they wake up or go to sleep. And next week's stream, oh, there you go. Zach's got the link. So next week is going to be I pick the topic, and I'm going to be doing SDR play use overview type video. I've got an SDR play here that I've been wanting to get more involved with, so I will be doing that next week. Okay, cool. So today is a makeup for last week. We had major technical problems. I believe I've sorted them out. We've waited here 15 minutes before we really cut into the meat of this thing. So I just want to say, for those that were here last week and had the audio problems, which ultimately kind of ended the stream, sorry about that. I believe I fixed them all, and we're gonna dive right in. I fixed my iPad problems as well, so we will be doing a practice test for the general at the end of this. So awesome. Jason Bruner says if it's a weekend, late works great. Excellent. That sounds good to me. A lot of people are saying if it's on a weekend, late night QSO party. Saying hi from Northern California. What's up, Mike Norleen? Yeah, Carl, I use a lot of your stuff, Carl. Your questions come up a lot because I think you're very persistent. Persistence is good in my eyes, so I end up asking a lot of your questions. Or I end up asking a lot of your questions. So what are we talking about today? Well, for some of you, it's going to be a bit of a repeat. I apologize. We're going to be covering Electrical and RF Safety, Chapter 9 of the General Book. Here is a QSL card that I got from K7Z Charlie Z, Mercer Island, Washington. Let's see. Did he put... I don't really want to put his address on there. But here's the details when we worked. It was FT8 on 10 megahertz. Pretty cool. He was running 80. Whoa. Thank you, Dan. $2. Awesome. Thank you for that. And I got a -1 dB. So not bad into Washington on FT8. Very good. I don't know, when was that? When did we do that? That was June 8th. When was that? Wait, May 8th. Cool. Well, I think that's how he's got it. Month and day. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's going to go on the wall at work. I've got to reply to that. And there we go. Okay, so RF safety, we've talked about this. And as a technician, you are working with sometimes, most of the time, less power. When you step up to HF, you're going to get bigger antennas. You're going to end up possibly getting an amp. And all of those things are involving gravity, things falling off of towers, bad, could be painful. And electricity, particularly if you have an amp, you're probably running 240, could be painful. So this chapter covers that, and I'll tell you what right up front, guys, all of this stuff is very common sense. So don't be scared. It's very easy to get through this without much issue. First thing, basic safety, particularly, and this is for any of your radios. This has nothing to do with amps. Have an on-off switch that's like pretty prominent, and tell people where it's at if you live with loved ones, even your children if you're a little bit older, and something happens, you want to push that power button and turn off your station. Get the power out of that station. So usually that's around the power supply, or sometimes you can even have like a desk switch, like a throw switch, like, you know, Frankenstein, you know, one of those big hinge things would be really cool. Ryan says, I'm in the Great Lakes state. Very cool. He was answering somebody there. We got a lot of people watching right now from all over the place. If you are outside of the United States, post in the chat. I'd like to know who the furthest is from me in California. That would be cool to find out what we got. I would love to know how many people we've got out there and where you're at. All right. So one of the things I mentioned too last week was let's build a grounding stick. Grounding stick's a cool concept. So basically, there's a lot of stored up electricity in some electrical components, and they use a grounding stick to kind of to pull that off. So you got a heavy alligator clip into some number 8 stranded wire. You got an eye screw, and I think that's just so you can hang it up, or you can connect it to something if you want. And then you got a PVC pipe, and the PVC pipe kind of helps it to ground the energy out. Very important that when you're, this is not a ham radio thing specifically. Old CRT monitors are incredibly dangerous. Arcade cabinets in particular have a lot of energy in them. So if you like to work on that stuff, be careful. Last night, the truth-telling mofo, I talked to a coworker's husband last night that had a huge antenna on his SUV. He was doing 13,000 watts on a, oh yeah, he's a CB competitor. Those are CB competitors. Those guys catch their stuff on fire. They'll wire up all these alternators. To their like bumper and in their car. Just crazy to get that super high power. And I kick this off too. There's this big blue box, right? Because they really want you to hammer this point home. Soldering in lead, okay? This is important because we're going to build a kit. Another kit. We've built plenty. But solder is, there's a couple components in solder. Obviously lead, and then you have flux. Flux helps adhesion and helps heat transfer. They're all bad when they off-gas. So do your soldering in a well-ventilated area, and realistically, since your face is so up in front of the project you're soldering, think about getting some kind of fan or ability to get some air circulating through your area. Solder can be bad, and particularly if you do it a lot. If you do a lot of kit building and you find you like it, do yourself a favor and get some proper ventilation. And they're as simple as a little box fan that has a pad filter, and that's usually all you need. It's Swift, heading outside for AO85. I'll report back. Yeah, please tell us how many QSOs you get or how you do. So It's Swift is pretty active, if I remember correctly. And when you come back, tell people what you do, or if you've got, tell people your Instagram or your Twitter or your YouTube if you have it. You can go check them out. Or coffee can filter. Yeah. Zach says fume extractor are less than $20 on Amazon. Yeah, and it's worth it because it's a little bit of safety. So electric shock, remember, it's not the voltage that caused the shock, but the current flow. And we'll show a table that covers a lot of that. You can get shocked by just about anything. And whoa, illiterate beef, thank you, man, $10. Thank you so much. And he says, thanks for making the hobby more approachable. The old hams expecting you to already know everything almost made me give up. Just did my first GMRS net. Excited to get more bands to play with. You couldn't have said my whole mission statement better, except that old people can be cool too. I know a lot of really old hams. I know a lot of really nice old hams, not just really old hams. There was there was a defining word I missed. So it's not just the old hams, and believe it or not, a lot of the young hams can be really snobby too. It's that you can't know everything. You can't know everything, and if people make you feel bad about not knowing everything, it's because they're insecure about something, and they've got a wall up around it, and then that's it. Once they get their knowledge base, they don't want to move outside of there because they know everything and they don't want to move. Then you stop growing. You stop learning. You stop getting better at what you do. So never, ever get caught up with that. You know, if somebody gives you a good piece of advice that you're wrong, but they do it in a nice way, and it's really easy to do that. You don't have to be a jerk. Then, listen to them. Always be willing to listen, and if they're right, say, okay, you're right. Let's see how we apply that. If they're telling you, so when you know they're telling it to you to make themselves feel better, then tell them to kick rocks and get out of there. So, good points here. The most dangerous current are those that travel through the heart, such as arm to arm or arm to foot. The current flow disrupts the heart's normal beating rhythm. Low frequency AC current, such as 50 or 60 household power, is the most dangerous because it penetrates the body easily and is of a frequency that can disrupt the heart. So in the book, it mentions specifically leaving a hand in your pocket. Why is it mentioning that? Because if you get tagged and the power wants to go up one arm, across your chest, and then down the other arm, you could be hitting your heart and you potentially go into defib, right? Or AFib. AFib. You need a defibrillator to get out of AFib. So here's the effects of shock. Everything up to this point, up to 30 milliamps, on a man, women 25, is painful shock, loss of muscular control. Now, it doesn't specify this here, or maybe it does. If the extensor muscles are excited by shock, the person may be thrown away from a power source. So my dad was watching. I don't know if he's still watching. He's probably got more important stuff to do. But he told me he knew a guy once who grabbed something, got shocked, and it clenched his fist, and he couldn't get off of it. So muscle contractions, severe muscle contractions, could cause a situation that's bad to be worse, because if you lock up on something that's electrified, you could end up getting hurt even more. May not die, but you could get hurt. And my wife just joined. I'll wave to her. Hey, on the Instagram. Yeah, so that's important. Now, once you break 50 to 150 milliamps, extreme pain, respiratory arrest, severe muscle contractions, and death is possible. From that point on, it just starts getting worse and worse from you. Aside from down here, where you become a burnt hot dog, a lot of the things that can happen are rhythmic pumping action of the heart ceases. Rhythmic, key point rhythmic. You get an out of rhythm heart. That's why some people need a pacemaker to balance out the movement of the heart. It doesn't make the heart pump, it just controls it a little bit. And obviously electricity can mess with a pacemaker too, so keep that in mind. Muscular contractions, yep. Cardiac arrest, severe burns, death, probable. Somebody said, congrats, Aiden. Ah, he got his technician license last week. Congratulations. Very good. Rick Miller says he's working on his tech license now. Excellent. I hope you do go back and watch my series I did on technician class license. I hope I hope it's helpful if you do. If it's DC, oh, Patrick Dickey says, if it's DC, it will cause you to grip down because the current flows in one direction. AC will eventually kick you off when the current... Oh, good point. Yeah, you're right. Good correction. Okay, wiring and safety ground. Shouldn't have to say this, but a lot of the stuff that you're going to work on will need a ground, so keep that in mind. The National Electrical Code, NEC, contains detailed descriptions on how to handle AC wiring in your home and shack in a safe manner. That's a test question. So don't forget that one. We'll see that when we get to the practice test for this chapter. But that's a very succinct statement. That's just like a truism, right? Those are one of those questions where there's not a lot of thought. It just shows up as a statement, and you go like, okay, good. You just remember those. There's not a better way to do it other than just remember. Okay. When connecting AC power cord inside equipment, use the 3-wire, 3-prong cords. If the equipment has metal chassis, always connect the ground wire to the terminal to the chassis. This prevents hazardous voltage from appearing on the chassis. So a couple of things. This goes back to a video I did, and on my newsletter on Patreon, I do a newsletter. I did one where I just talked about station grounding because I was having some issues there. Older homes, some of them are 2-prong only power cords, and they lack the 3rd prong, which is your ground prong. For your AC equipment, it's a really good idea to have a 3rd prong for ground and make sure you're using it. And as this mentions, it's a good idea to attach the chassis to the ground as well. You don't want to have this kind of insulated off connection to the ground that the chassis floats on, because it can collect energy and you could get hurt. You could get an RF burn, basically. All right. Table 9.2. This shows an example. Yes, it does. For house AC wiring, the 2 most common sizes are 12 gauge for 20 amp circuits and 14 gauge for 15 amp circuits. Those are going to be your 2 most common circuit breakers that you'll see in a home, is 20 amp and 15 amp. So make sure you're using the appropriate wire when you're running that. Patrick Dickey has a complaint against the NEC. Article 100 in the NEC is all wiring. It reads like a bad technician's manual. All right. Sorry, dude, trying to donate, but the system won't accept my Mexican card. Juan Carlos Badult says, trying to donate, but the system won't accept my technician card. Let me try a PayPal account or something. Hey, it's okay, man. An easy thing to do is go check the link for the Amazon store. If you use Amazon, maybe use my link, and that goes for anybody. I just get a cut. I get like a little percentage for bringing you there. It doesn't cost you anything, and that's it. That'd be great if you use that, and that doesn't cost you anything more. That would be awesome. If you could bookmark that, that'd be great. For everybody else too, there's another option. You got Patreon. Patreon's basically $1 a month, and it goes up from there. At $1, you get a newsletter. So even if you give me $1, you still get a newsletter out of it, and I try and do 2 articles, 6 to 7 pages usually is what I aim for, with nice colored pictures. Suitable for framing, I believe. All right, fuses and circuit breakers. I love fuses and circuit breakers because it always brings me back to the joke, and somebody posted it last time. It's on the Discord. You can go back to the Discord from last week. Somebody posted the board with all the household items and what how many amps they could take before they failed, and the bullet, like a bullet, is on there, and it has a parentheses audible tone when fails or something like that. I love that. Anyway, fuses interrupt excessive current flows by melting a short length of metal. Makes sense. That metal is cut and size for that amps that it's supposed to block out, right? Or fail on, thus preventing your circuit from getting overloaded and hurting your hardware. I love that. I love the, what was it mentioned? I always say, oh yeah, I don't want to go into that. If a circuit breaker repeatedly trips, it's an indication that too much power is being drawn on that circuit. So a couple of things can cause that. Daisy chaining wall plugs, or overloading wall plugs, or just putting too much. Like if I've got 3 wall plugs around my office here, and I'm dangerously close to probably drawing too much power. And you'll know when you see it. You go to one of those circuit breakers, and you've got a lot of stuff on, and you go to switch it on, and it's like it barely clicks. It just kind of goes like, That's how you know you've probably got a problem with your circuit breaker. The truth-telling mofo. Do you get commission if we buy stuff through your link but isn't in your store? Yes. If you take my link to Amazon, that's why I asked you to bookmark it. If you take my link to Amazon, and you don't even have to take it to my page. You can just go to the search bar on top after you take the link. You can type in whatever you want, search for whatever you want, buy anything you want on Amazon. The mere fact I brought you there, and I think it lasts for a couple hours, I get a credit for that, basically, for bringing you there. So, you know, whatever percentage that is. It's a couple percents on the sale, but hey, it helps, and I'll take it, and it's great. If you do that, super appreciate it. I'd love that. So I appreciate that. And that doesn't cost you anything. That means a lot. Be careful with a button. Be careful with button on large load on normal breakers. Yes. Okay. All right, circuit breaker, yes. For both types of wiring, only place a fuse or circuit breaker in a hot wire, never on the neutral ground wire. This should make sense. I hope everybody understands that. But yes, the reason is that the open neutral does not remove voltage from the equipment, and an electrical hazard may still be present. Yes, you could still be on the hot lead and flipping the negative side if you put a breaker on the negative side. You haven't got the hot lead problem out of the way. You could still get shocked because it's just finding another way to go back. So be careful about that. Okay. So shock prevention, and we're going to talk about equipment used for shock prevention. Safety interlock is an example of a shock prevention device. Safety interlocks are switches that prevent dangerous voltage or intense RF from being present when a cabinet or enclosure is opened. One type of interlock physically disconnects high voltage or RF when activated. A second type shortens or grounds a HV circuit when activated, possibly blowing a circuit breaker or fuse in power supply. Never bypass an interlock during testing unless specifically instructed to do so, and then only if there's a way directed by the instructions. Be sure to enable the interlock before returning the equipment to service. And then subset, GFI or GFCI breakers can be sensitive to just a few milliamps of imbalance between hot and neutral, well below the threshold for electrical injury. A lot of these questions in this chapter, case in point, pretty lot of details, right? It's a couple paragraphs of data or information. There's only one question though in that paragraph, and it's here, and it really doesn't have anything to do with a lot of what's going on here. Same thing here. It tells you about a safety interlock, asks you no questions about what a safety interlock is, and then tells you about the GFCI, which you're going to experience more GFCIs now and in the future because largely they're becoming code requirements. So that's good to know, but even then it's still like, it's just a FYI. Okay, generator safety. Generator safety. Emergency and portable operation often makes use of an electrical generator driven by gasoline, diesel, or propane. With generators easier and more convenient to use than ever, it's easy to overlook basic safety procedures. I think generators are very simple. I do. I think they should be in this book, but I think they're claiming that they can be more dangerous than they really are. When you fuel a generator, you're going to be off-gassing something. You're going to have gas fumes coming out over the generator as you're pouring. So keep that in mind. Don't be smoking a cigarette or drop the cigarette when you're fueling up a generator. Don't let your buddy smoke in front of the generator while you're fueling it up. Makes sense. Generators combust and they spit out carbon monoxide. So don't run your generator in the same place where you are or humans are, because you could kill them. If you do need to run a generator, it's best to get it as far away from you as you can. That's much safer. You don't want the carbon monoxide. Makes sense. Okay. If you plan on using a generator... Okay, so here's the question for generators. If you plan on using a generator regularly, install CO detector alarms in living and working areas. I agree with that. That's a good idea. And again, that's common principle. That's a lot of stuff that's just going into code enforcement as it stands now. A lot of code, like for example, we put a addition on our home and we had to have wired fire detectors, not batteries anymore, wired. And a few of them, if not all, I can't remember exactly, had to be CO detectors. Okay. A fire extinguisher should be kept near the generator and separated from the fuel. This is not a question on the test, and it should be, because that's very important. I Love Lasers knows a lot. Who was it that was talking? NEC earlier. You can also fry electronics if you plug it in while commercial power is also coming on. Good point. We'll talk a little. There's a point on that note later regarding generators. Yeah. Very good. Question from the test. If you intend to connect the generator output directly to your home's wiring system, you must have the ability to disconnect your power service from the utility lines. And that goes back to what I Love Lasers says. So this is the opposite effect. Your power is out. You got a generator. You want to connect your generator into your household circuits to power your house. You need to have a mains disconnect. The reason for that is if line workers are working on the lines and you're pumping power onto the lines, onto the grid basically, you could hurt the workers. So please do have some kind of disconnect to the mains if you're going to be operating a generator, particularly one that is connected to your household circuitry. Oh yeah, Juan Carlos, good point. Also, they should let you know what type of fire extinguisher. Yeah, so you need an ABC fire extinguisher, I believe it is, which is basically wood, chemical, and electrical is probably the one you should have. So there's all kinds of situations. You're running a generator, chemical. You're running a high power amplifier, electrical, and you're in a house. That's the standard combustibles. Somebody will clarify those. I don't have my CERT book in front of me, but that's generally the ones you want. And those are the ones that are also the most plentiful and the easiest to acquire at the Home Depot. So make sure you get one of those. I noted this because this is important. Why did I do that? Oh, this is just pointing out you could fry an electrician. Don't fry electricians. Don't do that. They're there to get the power back on. Don't kill them. Lightning. We talked about lightning in the grounding video from a while back and in my newsletter again. This comes up, which is kind of funny. No. Yes. Okay. There's 2 questions on grounding, which I think is good because grounding is important, particularly lightning grounding. Grounding and strap should be as short as direct as possible. All towers, masts, and antenna mounts should be grounded. Lightning grounds should be bonded to other safety grounds. Okay, so lightning, if your ground wire starts getting too long, lightning will just kind of find another path, okay? finding another path, possibly into other things, destroying them in the process. So if you want a lightning ground on your antenna, you should make it as close to the feed point, or that's usually the most feasible place to put some kind of spark gap, spark arrestor, and an inline lightning arrestor as possible to a ground rod. And you generally want to use, I believe, 8-gauge wire is considered the recommendation. Some go to 6, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, once you've done that, you should try and gang up different grounds to that point if you can, or if it's too far away from your shack, sink another ground rod and make sure you've grounded your rigs, your equipment to that ground so that you kind of prevent any ground loops. That's different from lightning, though, specifically. Your antenna needs a lightning ground. You don't necessarily need a... This is almost a whole topic we can talk about just on grounding, particularly in shack grounding. And a lot of people like Bob Heil got a couple of black eyes from people disagreeing with his opinion on grounding, particularly in the shack. I look at it this way. If you have a ground loop and you're getting noise, you're getting hums, you're getting whatever, do what you can to fix the ground problem. You will be better off. And if you at all ever get, bit on the lip from the mic, from having RF in your system, or you touch the chassis and you get an RF burn, definitely figure that out. Definitely figure that out. Wood. Yes, there it is. ABC. Wood, flammable liquids, and electrical. Perfect. Got it. So I was right. I think I was right. I just didn't have... It is wood, right? It's just wood. Okay. I'm good. I was totally right. I remember that. See? Your CERT classes pay off, kiddos. And I do recommend CERT, too. If you're going to potentially look at ARES or RACES, this is not related to this chapter, by the way, but just general safety, go take a CERT class. Last week, somebody mentioned FEMA classes. FEMA classes. Another notes. Do we have Dom? Is Dom watching? Dom, if you're watching, or maybe Zach can ask Dom if he's around, what are the FEMA classes that are recommended if you get into ARES? Point that out. That'd be very good to know, since this is a safety thing. It's nice to have first aid. I noticed that they talk a lot about preventing getting injured, but what happens if you do get injured? They don't have any first aid stuff. They don't even mention it. They don't even mention where to go. So I think that's important. First aid's very important. Anyway. Okay. Use mechanical clamps, brazing, or welding to be sure the ground connection is heavy enough. See, I don't like that. Do not use solder to make the connections, since solder joints... Oh, okay. They're referring to different... They're not referring to solder. Destroyed, hit, and lightning. Yeah. So don't solder anything that's connecting to a lightning arrestor, because it will immediately liquefy and blast out everywhere and burn people if they're standing by. So don't use that. Use mechanical clamps, brazing, or welding. So that's a different composition of metal, which is not immediately liquefied by lightning. Is there a... There it is. I love lasers. 100, 200, 700. Oh, wait. I didn't realize. I totally did not. Why did I not know that was your username? Wow. 100, 200, 700, 800, as well as 300 and 400 are recommended for leadership positions. Those are FEMA. ICS 100, 200, 700, and 800. So if you're interested, those are free classes you can take. You can take them online. They are FEMA classes. I promise you they won't put you in a coffin and make you go to a FEMA re-education and death camp if you take that. Okay, RF exposure. So RF exposure is basically radiation, right? It's radiating electromagnetic waves, but it's not the same type of radiation as radioactive material. But it's treated in similar ways in sense of exposure and distance and duration, right? There are a number of factors to consider: power level or density, frequency, average exposure time, and duty cycle of the transmission. So if you're doing digital and you're doing FT8, you're running for 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off, 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. And you're sitting next to the antenna and you're putting out 5 watts. Not that bad. If I crank that up to 100 watts, that could be bad. And they break it down. So basically, and this is a whole comment on what I just said, Radiation from antennas is not the same ionizing radiation from radioactivity. Before radio waves can be considered ionizing, their frequency would have to be increased far beyond microwaves through visible light onto the upper reaches of the ultraviolet and X-ray spectrum. Hopefully that makes sense, right? We've got different spectrums of light. RF's over here, X-ray and ultraviolet's over here, or it's possibly switched. And that you have to be way over here to be cancerous, right? The only demonstrated hazard from exposure to RF is heating. Heated effects, thermal effects, and those occur only in very strong fields. RF burns are caused by touching conducting surfaces that have a high RF voltage present and are very localized instance of heating and carries no more risk than thermal burns from hot objects. You don't want this, but that's what it is. Oh, Patrick Dickey. Patrick Dickey mentions if you want to join CERT, you have to take IS 317. It's 6 hours of your life, so block it out in your schedule. Yeah, I think a lot of cities do it in class now. They'll do like an in-person class, I believe, because I didn't have to take anything online. We had a really good instructor, though. I'm guessing that's the case. I assume everything's online now. Okay. Heating from exposure to RF signals is caused by the body tissue absorbing RF energy. So you're literally hot dogging yourself, right? This is like pre-microwaving heat. You are getting blasted with RF. Over time, it will cause your cells to heat up and burn you. Okay, so let's avoid that. So the specific absorption rate is called SAR, and that's the rate at which energy is absorbed from the power to which the body is exposed. Okay, so again, factoring in power density and frequency, you can start to say, okay, controlled, uncontrolled, and you can start to deal with limitations to exposure. And one of the way they do it is maximum permissible exposure, right? You take your frequency range, this is the range that you're operating on, and then you say, okay, well, what's the density of the object or the exposure? In this case, controlled exposure is 6-minute average. Uncontrolled exposure would be 30-minute average, right? And it breaks it down. It breaks it down based in megahertz. Okay? So a lot of this depends on duty cycle, right? Exposure to RF is averaged over fixed time intervals because the body responds differently to heating for short durations and long duration exposures. Time average evaluates the total RF exposure over a fixed time interval. If you are listening for 80%, transmitting for 20%. FT8, you are transmitting 50% of the time, but you are doing it at low power or lower power, right? Okay, so that's part of the duty cycle. It's a factor of how we account for it. There you go. I love lasers, nailed it. That's about ultraviolet light. Waves under that, meaning RF, simply do not have enough energy to disrupt cellular division and alter the DNA. Makes sense. True Tally Mofo, gotta go. All right, buddy, take it easy. Okay, duty cycle. Duty cycle is the ratio of time the transmitter is on to the total time during the exposure. A lower transmission duty cycle permits greater short-term exposure levels for a given average exposure. Okay, let's explain that. $2.99, thank you. Oh, Rick, hey, thank you. Thank you for the great videos on the Baofangs. You're welcome. If you have a question specifically about Baofangs, send me a message or hop over to the Ham Radio Crash Course where we have smart people there, not just me, that can answer those questions. So what mode you're operating on, believe it or not, is a factor. I kind of already mentioned FT8. I kind of mentioned single sideband a bit. But if you're doing single sideband, it's 20% duty cycle. Conventional single sideband, both of them, 20-40%. Single sideband, AFSK, data, 100%. Single sideband, SSTV, 100%. AM voice, 50% modulation, 50%. AM voice, 100% modulation, 25%. So this table is helpful because it kind of breaks it down like, okay, now what? So this is how you use this. Here's an example. A station is using single sideband without speech processing, transmitting and listening for equal amounts of time, and a PEP of 150 watts. The average power output equals 150 times 20% times 50%, which is 15 watts. A station is sending a second station is sending a series of messages using single sideband AFSK to transmit a digital signal at 100 watts PEP, listening only 1/4 of the time. The average power output is 100, which is the watts, 75%, and 100%, which yields 75 watts. So the guy just doing single sideband, 15 watts. The guy doing single sideband but AFSK digital is 75 watts. So then what you got to do is say, okay, now we got to estimate the exposure. And based off of the band you're operating on, right? So here's our bands on the left, and here's your power in watts. If you go back to the examples and you say 75 watts, what if he was operating on 10 meters? Well, that tips over this 50% threshold, and then you would need to do an evaluation. Okay? So this is part of the way you can kind of do this on your own. If you start using higher power, and these are not that high power, right? 10 watts, 50 is not that high. 6 watts on 50, I'm sorry, 6 meters on 50 watts is not that high. So keep that in mind. All fixed amateur stations must evaluate their capability to cause RF exposure, no matter where they use high or low power. Okay? These limits vary with frequency and PEP as shown in table 5 or 9.5. So once you factor, okay, I'm going to do 10 watts, or I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Well, if you're going to do 10 meters, but I want to use 75 watts, forget all that 50 watt business. Then you have to do an evaluation. There's a couple ways to do that, and we're going to talk about it. You can perform the evaluation by actually measuring the RF field strength with calibrated field strength meters and calibrated antennas. And here is my... Here is my field strength meter. Okay. This is not the best and wildest of all field strength meters, but it gets the job done. However, it's easiest for most hams to use tables provided by the ARRL. Okay, I'm going to read this one out. ARRL.org/RF-exposure. Okay. -exposure, or an online calculator such as ones listed on the ARRL website. That is a test in the question pool. Okay. All right. So that's basically the RF exposure side of things, where you can burn yourself. You don't want to burn people. You don't want to do any of that stuff. So make sure you do an evaluation. If you're even close to the threshold, it's a good idea. Tom Garcia, this is another great reason to use QRP. It's hard to hurt anyone with RF and less chance of shocking yourself. So I have an anecdote. I was running a QRP radio with a 9-to-1 un, or what is also referred to as a end-fed antenna, meaning you have a box with a lead coming out of it, that's your radial, and the box is basically not converting, it's taking your match to 9-to-1 and taking your counterpoise and using the coax as basically the counterpoise. I got a shock on the chassis of the radio when I keyed up. It's the first time and only time I've ever experienced any kind of RF burn, and it just happened to be the funky configuration sitting on top of a mountain in the particular case that I was using. And this was years ago when this happened. But yeah, so keep that in mind. That can bite you. And Zach says he's gotten RF burns before with a Baofeng. Yeah, so it can happen. Just be careful. It's not bad. It's just kind of shocking. Oh, I forgot a question here. Normally, if you see orange, there's a question in the pool when I read these books out, and then I try and add a little bit of flavor to it to explain why they're asking the question. Because a lot of times it's not. You don't necessarily know why they're even bothering to ask. It's kind of like, who's the one who came up with this? So the question is, all of them satisfy the. How is that a question? Okay, let's read this. These are all good. Oh man, Exposure safety measures. The measures you can take if your elevation results exceed MP limits are summarized in Figure 910. This is Figure 910. These are all good practice suggestions and can save time and expense if they are followed before, during your elevation. All of them satisfy the basic requirements to prevent human exposure to the excessive RF fields. So that's probably why I didn't highlight it, because that's a really horribly written question. Yeah, do good things, follow charts, follow guidelines. Don't expose people to RF. There is the RF portion of this test, this portion of the test in a nutshell. Locate the antenna away from property lines and place a fence around the base of the ground-mounted antennas. Again, common sense stuff. Don't point, I love this one. I love this question. I love it. Don't point gain antennas where people are likely to be. Use beam antennas to direct the RF energy away from people. Aw, shucks, man. I was going to point my multi-element Yagi at that preschool in the middle of summertime on 10 meters. If you have to use stealth or attic or other indoor antennas, make sure MP limits are not exceeded in your home's living quarters. Ah, we covered that 2 weeks ago, right? The small attic space antennas. Why did we mention that? Because yeah, you've got an antenna overhead that's, you know, could be rattling your brains. So make sure you're following those guidelines correctly. Oh, It Swift is back. He says that he missed W4AQT calling. She's a 12-year-old general. Wow. So he just came back from working a SAT, working AO85. Yeah, Zach says, don't point your antenna at the neighbors you don't like. Yeah. If the neighbor's dog won't shut up, just hammer down on 10 meters and crank up that power, man. Crank it up and aim it at the dog. That'll shut him up. And you'll get a delicious after-meal snack. I don't know. Sorry. All right. Installing antennas. Sorry, I'm not trying to jump through this, but I'm cracking myself up and I lose focus. The next part of this chapter is going to be on how to set up your antennas. And this is going to be a lot of common sense stuff, but it's still there because they don't want anybody to get hurt. So the most important rule for installing antennas is violated every year, usually with tragic results. Place all antennas and feed lines well clear of power lines. This should be the most no-dur of anything. Don't install an antenna where it can fall over onto a power line. Okay? And they go into more detail. Speaking of power lines, don't run feed lines over power lines or service drops from a transformer to the house. Yes. Makes perfect sense. Instagram, you're going away right now. We've hit the hour. So, c'est la vie. P226nut, what's up, buddy? Everyone likes a nice crispy dog, he says. If you're throwing a line into a tree, make sure there's not a wire on that other tree and you don't overshoot and go over the wire, power line. And they make the point of saying, hey, it's not that bad. It's just 240 volts of AC. It still hurts, and you just don't want to do it. You don't want to start a fire. You don't want to you don't want to create a situation where you're going to have to call out first responders to get you out of bad, right? So just avoid that. It's not that hard to avoid, okay? This one, yeah, I'll show it to you. Perhaps the most ignored safety feature is to follow the manufacturer's directions. Okay. I generally read directions. Sometimes. Maybe. Towers, mass, and hardware. So the never-ending comment we always say is, how should I set this antenna up? Higher is better. We always say higher is better. We want it to get higher. Always put your antenna up higher. The pursuit of elevation, in some cases, particularly where you're close to an airport, means you will have to notify them. Case in point. Building permits are generally required for lattice, crank up, and tilt over towers. When erecting a tower near an airport, be sure to comply with the FCC and FAA rules about maximum structure height near an airport. Make sure you follow grounding rules for external metal surfaces. Check with your local building codes. Towers should be grounded with separate 8-foot ground rods for each tower leg, with the tower rods bonded to the tower and each other. Get that? So you've got different tower legs, ground rod for each, bonded, and then cross strapped to each other, right? So everything's connected to each other. There's no place you're going to have a hot spot where things can go. Okay. Secure all electrical and RF equipment. Transmit. Oh, okay. Wait. This is before you climb. So you're gonna have to climb a tower maybe once in your life. Maybe not. Maybe you avoid towers completely, or maybe you got a buddy and you're the youngin' in the club. So hey, you wanna climb a tower? You might be the one. Some things to keep in mind: have a harness, not just a belt. Harnesses are nice because they can kind of keep you oriented if you fall back. Right? It's not just on your waist. Before climbing or starting work, run through a safety checklist every time. Inspect all tower guying and support hardware. Crank-up towers must be fully nested and blocked. Double-check all belts and lanyards. Inspect all ropes and load-bearing hardware such as pulleys. This is an important one. Secure all electrical and RF equipment. Transmitters should be off and disconnected from the feed line to avoid shock or excessive RF exposure. Turn off and unplug all AC equipment, locking the circuits out and tagging them if possible. Check the weather report so you don't get lightninged. Yeah, Instagram Live only goes for 1 hour. And this is an example of that. This is like a what do they call this? A lockout tag. It's a flat, like a clasp on a padlock, right? Like this, and just on each side. And they kind of fit together like that. Maybe. I can't do 3 dimensions. And there's the flat tags that split with holes, and you put a padlock through that. You're locking out the power. Turn the breaker off, lock out the power. Belts and harnesses must be worn within their service life and adequately rated for weight. Yes. Don't overweight or underweight any harness. There you go. All right, so that is Chapter 9. Chapter 10 is a glossary. That's because we skipped some of the boring stuff. Sorry. Boring stuff, regulations and whatnot, in the beginning of this book when we first started. We went straight to the cool stuff like electrical components. So we'll pick that up again probably in 2 weeks. If not, no, 3 weeks, because next week I'm picking, and then the following week Patreon's pick, and then we'll get back to it. So let's take a practice test, shall we? Oh, man. I'm missing the SoCal Prospectors Club meeting for you guys today. You should feel honored. I do like getting out there and digging, man. I like getting in the dirt, finding some gold. Getting that gold. All right. These should be very easy, and we should be able to blow these out very quickly. So if you can, get some questions ready, because I'll take all the questions. Inspect your harness. They do have a lifespan, Forrest Harrell says. Absolutely. What is one way that RF energy can affect the human body? Heats the body tissue. Yes. Does not cause radiation poisoning. It causes the blood count to reach a dangerously low level. It cools body tissue. All of those are just stupid. It heats the body. Whoa. Hello, brightness. What's going on here? I need brightness. Enhance. Enhance. Okay. Which of the following properties is important in estimating whether an RF signal exceeds the maximum permissible exposure? Its duty cycle, its frequency, its power density. All. There you go. That's one of the few instances in this test where all is a good answer. How can you determine that your station complies with FCC RF exposure regulations? All. Carl says, stream suggestion, SSTV with a Baofeng and an iPad. Sure. I can add that to the list. What does time averaging mean in reference to RF exposure? Whew, that's gassy, that beer. The average amount of power developed by the transmitter over a specific 24-hour period. The average time it takes RF radiation to have a long-term effect on the body. The total time of exposure. The total RF exposure averaged over a certain time. I'll let you guys answer this one. What does time averaging mean in reference to RF radiation exposure? It's not that heavy a beer. What did they say it was? 7.3. But it feels like it's hitting me a little. I'm not a lightweight. The total RF exposure averaged over a certain time. Angel's first one. Angel is correct. Good work, Angel. +5 internets. What must you do? I don't know how many people we got going in over here. There we go. What must you do if an evaluation of your station shows RF energy radiated from your station exceeds permissible limits? Take action to prevent human exposure to the excessive RF fields. File an environment impact statement for the FCC. Secure written permission from your neighbors to operate above the controlled MPE limits. D. All the choices are correct. It's take action to prevent it, you dummy. That's it. The FCC doesn't want your statements. You don't go around to solicit from your neighbors that, hey man, is it cool if I like dump a whole bunch of RF into your house, bro? At legal limit power? Is that cool? I'm working some DX, bro. No, dude, just don't. The answer is don't. Okay. What percent should be taken when installing a ground-mounted antenna? It should not be installed higher than you can reach. It should not be installed in a wet area. It should be limited to 10 feet in height. It should be installed such that it is protected against unauthorized access. A, B, and C are not mentioned in the chapter at all. So it's D. And put a fence around it. Sure. What effect does transmitter duty cycle have when evaluating RF exposure? A lower transmitter duty cycle permits greater short-term exposure levels. A higher transmitter duty cycle permits greater short-term exposure levels. Low duty cycle transmitters are exempt from RF exposure evaluation requirements. High duty cycle transmitters are exempt from RF exposure requirements. That's kind of a tricky one. It's really two options, and then they're just changing low and high duty cycle. I don't think... Yeah, no, it's A. It's A. It's not C. C tricked me for a minute. Low duty cycle transmitters are exempt from RF exposure evaluation. Not mediation or anything like that. Just evaluation. You got to evaluate your stuff. That's all it's saying. And that's true. That makes sense. Which of the following steps must an amateur operator take to ensure compliance with RF safety regulations when transmitting power exceeds levels specified in the FCC 9713? Post a copy of the FCC Part 9713 in the station. Post a copy of OET Bulletin 65 in the station. Perform a routine RF exposure evaluation. All of these choices are correct. I believe it's C. Again, don't get all extra. Just do the evaluation. Just check. What type of instrument can be used to accurately measure an RF field? Most of you guys should know this without even me saying the options. I showed one. Yeah, wouldn't that be funny if you just you're totally just violating all the rules and you're like, well, I put the FCC bulletin on the wall, and I look at it, of course, when I'm violating. I love it. Just that's a total radio scofflaw. A calibrated field strength meter with a calibrated antenna, you say. Yes. Who said that? Sunset Slave. Got it. Which is one thing that can be done if evaluation shows that a neighbor might receive more than the allowable limit of RF exposure from the main lobe of a directional antenna. Post a warning sign that is clearly visible to the neighbor. Hey, dummy, get out of the way of my RF. Get out of my way. RF is a-coming. And hell's coming with it. Because you're going to die. I'm going to cook you. D. It's D. Change to a non-polarized antenna with higher gain. That doesn't make any sense. Post a warning sign that clearly states that it's clearly visible to the neighbor. Hey, idiot, move! Use an antenna with a higher front to back ratio. D. Take precautions to ensure that the antenna cannot be pointed in their direction. Yeah, don't point at your neighbor. No dir. What precaution should you take if you install an indoor transmitting antenna? Locate the antenna close to your operating position to maximize feed lane radiation. Yeah! Position the antenna along the edge of the wall to reduce parasitic radiation. Make sure the MPE limits are not exceeded in occupied areas. Make sure the antenna is properly shielded. That seems to be counterproductive to it doing what an antenna does. Make sure the MP limits are not exceeded. I think this is the last one. Is this the last one for this section group? Yeah, we got one more group, I think. What precautions should you take whenever you make adjustments or repairs to an antenna? Make sure you and your antenna structure are grounded. Turn off the transmitter and disconnect the feed line. Wear a radiation badge! Wear a radiation badge, guys, when you're up on the roof. Turn the transmitter off and disconnect the feed line. Yes, of course. Wear a radiation badge. Great. Wear a condom. Tom Garcia says wear a condom. That'll do it. All right. Which wire or what? Wait. Which one's this? Oh, we jumped ahead. We already did this. Which wires in a 4-conductor connection should be attached to fuses or circuit breakers in a device-operated 240 phase? Only the 2 wires carrying voltage, I believe. Yeah. This is not covered in this. What is the minimum wire size that may be safely used for a circuit that draws up to 20 amps of continuous current? That is... minimum size for 20 amps is 8. No, it's 12? Yeah, 12. Okay. Which size fuse or circuit breaker would be appropriate to use with a circuit that uses AWG? That would be a 15 amp. No, this is correct. Okay, good. Jeez. All right. Which of the following is a primary reason for not placing a gasoline fuel generator inside an occupied area? It would be the carbon monoxide. Hi, Alex Jones says, I wear an EMP back of my head. It prevents the frogs from turning gay, that's for sure. I put little EMP bags on the frogs just to prevent them from turning gay. If you guys don't know, that's an Alex Jones joke. That's not me just being a homophobe. I'm not, but I'm just saying that that's an Alex Jones joke. Which of the following conditions will cause a ground fault circuit interrupter GFCI to disconnect the 120, 240 volt AC line power to a device? Current flowing from one or more of the voltage carrying wires to the neutral wire. Current flowing from one or more of the voltage carrying wires directly to the ground. An overvoltage on carrying wires. It's overvoltage. Wait, this one. This one. Okay. Wow. Sorry about that. Okay, good. Don't listen to me. It's current flowing from one or more of the voltage carrying wires directly to ground. Hide all your globalist liberals. Alex Jones is here. Okay, I missed that one. I miffed it hard. Why must the metal enclosure of every item of a station equipment be grounded? It prevents a blown fuse in the event of an internal short. It prevents signal overload. It ensures that the neutral wire is grounded. It ensures that hazardous voltage cannot appear on the chassis. The chassis. The chassis. Chassis. The chassis. Which of these choices should be observed when climbing a tower using a safety belt or harness? Never lean back and rely on the back alone to support your weight. Confirm that the belt is rated for the weight of the climber and that the belt is within the allowable surface. Just go with that. I'm not, like, for ones that you just have to remember it and be done with it, like, just go with that and be done with it. It's your weight and time. It's not expired belt. That's it. What should be done by any person preparing to climb a tower that supports electrically powered lines? Make sure all circuits to the tower are locked out and tagged. Unground the base of the tower! And notify the electric company the person will be working on it. What should be done by a person preparing to climb a tower that supports electrically... No, just make sure the circuits are out and tagged. You don't call a power company. That's just going to get you all kinds of trouble. And be like, what are you doing, boy? They're going to get out there and they're going to be like jumping around, observing everything, checking out your station. You don't want that. If it's not coming through, I don't like a lot of over-regulation. People laugh sometimes that know me when they see me do these videos because they know how much I hate regulation and laws and things that prevent people from living freely. So I never want to call anybody and say, hey, I'm about to do something. Is that cool? And have them go like, nah, dog, that's not cool at all. I never want the state getting involved in me doing anything if I can help it. Almost always. Why should solder joints not be used with the wires that connect to the base of a tower? A base of a tower to a system of ground rods. Why is that, you guys? The resistance of solder is just too high. Solder flux will prevent the low conductive connection. Solder has too high a dielectric content to provide adequate lightning protection. A solder joint will likely be destroyed by the heat of the lightning strike. Which one is it? I'll let you pick. This one's easy. And for BRM is taken off. Everybody should know that. See ya, man. Thanks for watching. It is D. Solder joint will be destroyed, spraying hot molten solder everywhere. Which of the following is a danger from lead tin solder? Lead can contaminate food if hands not washed. That's true. High voltage can cause lead tin solder to disintegrate suddenly. Tin in the solder can cold flow, causing shorts to the circuit. RF energy can convert the lead into a poisonous gas. Gas! It's A. You can poison yourself. Which of the following is a good practice for lightning protection grounds? They must be bonded to all buried water and gas lines. That's pretty metal. Just ground bond your antenna, which is a lightning rod, to your gas line. Yeah. Bends in ground wires must be made to close as possible to the right angle. Lightning grounds must be connected to all ungrounded wiring. They must be bonded together with all other grounds. This one's easy. Easy. I just want to answer it and move on. Because it's so easy. They must be bonded together with all other grounds. What is the purpose of a power supply interlock? To prevent unauthorized changes to the circuit that would void the manufacturer's warranty. To shut down the unit if it becomes too hot. To ensure that the dangerous voltage are removed if the cabinet is opened. To shut off the power supply if too much voltage is produced. That would be C. What must you do when powering your house from an emergency generator? Disconnect the incoming utility power line. Ensure the generator is not grounded. Okay. Ensure that all lightning grounds are disconnected, because that's extra power, right? If you have no power and your house gets like hit with lightning, that's many gigawatts, right? How many gigawatts? Dr. Brown, how many gigawatts is that? I don't have a soundboard yet. I don't know. Great Scott, so many gigawatts. Gigawatts. Isn't that what he says? Gigawatts instead of gigawatts? Anyway. You just, and again, all these choices are correct? No. 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 Disconnect the feed line. I mean, somebody's talking about weird laws in the chat. Would like to point out, I think it's some cities in California, it's illegal to capture rainwater to water your plants. It's illegal. It's illegal to capture that. Can you believe that? It's crazy. Which of the following is covered by the National Electrical Code? Acceptable bandwidth limits, acceptable modulation limits, electrical safety inside the ham shack, RF exposure limits of the human body. It's C. Which of the following is true of an emergency generator installation? The generator should be located in a well-ventilated area. Duh. Generator must be insulated from... Why do they keep saying that? Fuel should be stored near the generator for rapid refueling. It's like a pit crew. You've got one of those like big things. You just pop it up into the generator and dump in about 1,000 gallons. Okay, so that was it. Cool. All right. So we passed. We passed that section. Oh, my green screen's wearing off a little bit there. You were stealing rain. Never steal rain. Dylan Mania Takers? Mania Takes? Sorry, Mania Takes. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. How you doing, buddy? Let me go back here. Okay, so we're done with that one. We passed the chapter. I'm very happy about that. Let's see. What else we got to do? Oh, yeah. Got to do my... I will take your questions now, so go ahead and start pulling those up for me. Carl, you asked me that last week. It's not... If it wasn't this week, it's going to be a couple weeks from now. And that's okay. I'll get back out there someday. Zach, you make a very valid point. That is one of the most valid points I've heard in a long time. All right. Oop. That is poorly sized. That's my fault. Okay, I want to say a big thank you to my patrons. Among many of them, there are the $10 level of patron support. And they get a shout out, in this case. Carrie Blackwell, who... I didn't see Carrie, so it's possible she's traveling. She is going to be at the ARRL teacher convention. It's like a week-long, I think, week-long training thing for teachers at the ARRL. She's doing something before me, and I may never even get to the ARRL, but that's awesome. I saw they had something going on last week. Teachers are making like little floating beacons or something like that. So cool. Carrie Blackwell, one of my earliest and most supportive of the patrons, so I cannot thank you enough. And the same goes for Michael. Michael Nieswender has been there from the beginning, so I thank you both. Terry Hines, Jason Brown, Ken Neiman, who are also amazing. All of you are amazing. Anthony, Jace Ravenfield, Jason KG2ICN, Jason Siebert, Mike Gatz, Gareth Broadhead, Franklin Lewis, Danny Miller, Vaughn Dobbs, Chris Ebert, Danny Dansero, one day I will say that, I hope, correctly, and Dennis Dunderdale. Now, I update this usually as soon as someone becomes a new patron. I think this one might be a bit stale. That's on me. I apologize for that if your name didn't get mentioned. That was not done on purpose, and I will fix it for the next stream. Cool. Let's check the chat. Oh, try CQ on 14264. Okay. It's a perfect time for some QSOs. Don't mind the noise, guys. Let's go to the radio. Alright, I'm going to call out and see. Let me get my desk mic over here. Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. Is this frequency in use? And then I'll just call out CQ and we'll try it. CQ, CQ, CQ for Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. CQ for Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. Oh. Is that a tune-up? Or just some kind of weird adjacent signal? CQ, CQ, CQ for Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. CQ for Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. Oop. It's Swift. Are you out there, buddy? I think you were the one that was mentioning trying to do a QSO. Oh, Eastern Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's tough. So this, let me, if anybody wants to try again. Carl Ing says, my favorite type of stream is a QSO stream. To be honest with you, I like them too, but you know what? They're the least of all of my streams. They're the least popular. Believe it or not, these are some of my least popular streams. Doing these general and technician videos are the least popular. I get the least amount of viewers watching these. People just aren't that interested in watching a live stream. They may be interested on the back end. I don't know. Time will tell. But when I generally do my, like that APS Baofeng video, really popular. Some of the other standalone ones, like the mobile radio one, really, really popular. If it's a standalone topic where we're actually like doing something, making something, really, really popular. Very popular. Programming radios is always popular. I know, man. Carling says that icon looks so good. So this is a special configuration. You can hold down this button here. And you can go in here and change the colors and stuff like that. And there's all kinds of settings to mess with. So mine is a customized waterfall. I actually showed the guys over at the HRO. They just had the stock model of the waterfall. And wow, did you see that thing, that buzzsaw fly across? Is that over the horizon radar? Is that what that looks like? I showed them. Yeah, we're still getting it. I walked in. I was like, "Oh, is this default?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You know, you can change this, right?" They're like, "Really?" And I had 2 people who watched me on YouTube watching, and one of them had a 7300, believe it or not. And I showed them, and they're like, "Oh my god! If I showed you what this looked like default, you wouldn't want a 7300. This looks so much better, so much better." Oh. I just called you nothing on your waterfall, even with the delay considered. Oh, sorry, man. It looks like there might be an adjacent signal. CQ, CQ, CQ for Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. Angel, you could be an extra and you should still watch these streams. Dang nabbit. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for watching, though. I need to go. Tom says, I need to go drink Irish whiskey and rescue gay frogs with my Baofeng. I'll see you in Discord. All right, Tom, I'll see you there, buddy. Okay, so I got my my Patreons out of the way. I'm not seeing any huge amount of questions. That's okay. You can take them on over to the Discord. Zach was gracious enough to post that there. I will go ahead and lower the volume here a little bit. And I'm not seeing anything on the waveform. A lot of that could be me. I'm trying to upgrade my antenna. And I'm not a big fan of my G5RV. I know it works okay, and I was able to get Baker, but it seems to work better going west into the Pacific Ocean, Japan, and Australia, who I can hit. I can talk to Hawaii with this radio with the G5RV. It just doesn't like to go east. It just does not. Don't know what the deal is. Yeah, so I think we'll leave it at that. Oh, yeah, well, that's true. Tom, you are an extra. Franklin's also an extra. Very entertaining and a great refresher. Well, thank you. That means a lot. I really, it does mean a lot. Sometimes I feel it's like, you know, am I really helping people? And then I get cool messages like you guys. Get a lot of people on the Facebook page, which again, if you're not a member, please go join. And if you do get your license, make a post about it. I'll give you a congrats at the very least. Oh. Tuna. CQ, CQ, CQ for Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. This is just wide open receive, too. Oh, yeah. That's pretty wishful thinking. We might have a... No. I am very impressed with 20 meters right now. Is there a contest going on? Do you see that one to the right? Do you see this guy right here? Look how much that... We might have to go over there and experiment on that one. No, and I just screwed up the focus. Yeah, I'm gonna slide over to this guy. So, I'm cutting off the QSO stuff right now. I wanna... Oh, he's gone. Shoot. There he is. What is this? Where's that big station? John Baker, the page is the Ham Radio Crash Course. Just Facebook search Ham Radio Crash Course. Yeah, you can use a Baofeng on Whisper. You're going to kill your Baofeng, but you can do it. It's just a really long time to have that thing pegged out, PTT'd open. And you basically turn on Vox. That's how you do it. You use 2 cables, 1 transmit, 1 receive. Oh, yeah, that's Maritime Mobile. You're right. It's Swift, 14300, very strong here. Maybe Maritime Mobile. It is. But that guy was really loud. And now he's gone, so the net's probably over. Okay. You know how I know 14300? It's because I was talking on it on field day. Wrong! Don't do that. How could I forget Maritime Mobile? Come on, focus. All right, I'm not going to try and make this thing focus. Okay, guys, we are going to go over to Discord. Again, Zach posted the link. Lots to talk about. I don't even know. It's one of my favorite things. I end the stream. I hop into Discord. And then it just goes, wow, and all these people show up and we talk. And it's amazing. Okay, I'm going there now. All right, again, thank you so much for watching. Give me a subscription. Give me that sub if you haven't done that. Hit the notification. Hit the notification, I think, twice or something like that. You got to do something. Make sure it's on, though. I got a ton of reports from people saying it's not working. And if you don't have it working correctly, you won't get notified when I go live. If you're interested in the Patreon and the $1 newsletter, the link is in the description. Please join the Ham Radio Crash Course and my Twitter and my Instagram, all that stuff, because I post everywhere all the time, 24/7, constantly. I never sleep. All I do is social media and ham radio. I probably do more social media than ham radio these days, though. All right, all the 10-4 good buddies. I'm going over to Discord. Take it easy, guys. See ya.